All right. Hello, Lead Pros. It's Aiden here with another episode. I'm very pleased to introduce to you 16-time author, CEO of Sales Gravy, sales trainer, sales speaker, father and husband, Jeb Blount. Blount, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Aiden?
I'm good. I really appreciate you doing this. This is great. Uh, there's so many things to talk about that we're not going to talk about everything because you got so much going on. I follow you online too, and I have to admit, I don't think I could do your schedule. You're like on you're on a plane. I don't know. You're on a plane every third day or something. I don't know.
Oh my God. I know I've done, I had a decent summer. I only did a couple of trips, but I'm starting tomorrow night will be my 154th night so far on the road this year. And I don't think I'm going to hit 300. I thought earlier in the year I was going to hit 300, but I had to take the summer off and do a lot of writing, and I'm behind on everything. So it'll be pretty heavy travel all the way into the year, but it won't be. I'll probably clip. I don't know. I'll clip 225.
Wow. On another note, just very quick, just maybe how's the houseboat?
The houseboat.
Yeah.
Or the boathouse.
Boathouse. The
boathouse. Yes, the boathouse. The famous boathouse. The mistake I made was posting that online. I was at a party this weekend, and somebody walked up to me and goes, "How's the boathouse going?" I'm like, "Wow, there's a lot of interest in my boathouse. Boathouse is fantastic. It's finished, and I didn't get a lot of time to spend at it this year because I've been traveling so much. But it's a really cool structure on the lake."
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, I saw you building it and stuff like that, and it was neat to watch, just seeing it,
Yeah.
see it come. So move forward. Just wanted to kind of talk about a few things. What I wanted to start off with is just, I think you're coming up to. I mean, you talk about all the books, 16 books. These aren't all of them, but I have fanatical prospecting here as a little bit bigger, because what I realized is kind of doing some research for this. I think fanatical prospecting, if I'm not mistaken, is coming up to 10 years. I know I bought it in September 2015 off Amazon. So that's how I know. So you're coming up to almost a decade, or is it a decade already?
Yeah, it'll be 10 years next year.
10 years next. That's the way I thought. Yeah. I mean, all your books are bestsellers. But this one really seems to have resonated with a lot of people. And in that time, it's been 10 years. How have things changed with regards to prospecting, or have they changed at all?
I don't think things have changed as much as people give it credit for. So in the follow-on book to Fanatical Prospecting, called Fanatical Prospecting Sequences, which I'm writing right now, and it will be out next year. So it'll be out sometime in 2025. I can't guarantee when. We take fanatical prospecting, the core principles of fanatical prospecting, and really dial it into how do you run multi-channel, multi-touch, interwoven message campaigns so that you can grab more attention. So if anything has really changed since fanatical prospecting was written, is that we've got platforms out there now that will run these type of engagement campaigns like SalesLoft or Outreach or VanillaSoft or HubSpot. And sadly, a lot of those platforms have been corrupted by salespeople and their companies who have essentially used them as spam bots. Like all they do is just send out email. And email as a prospecting channel 10 years ago was a pretty good prospecting channel. Phone's always been my number one. People answer their phone. You can tell me they don't, but I watch it every single day. They do, and it works. But over the last 9 months, and we're moving now into about 11, 10 months, AI has pretty much killed email. And these sales enablement platforms, the amount of email that they've been sending has really hurt. And I don't think that, for example, a SalesLoft or an Outreach or a VanillaSoft or a HubSpot are condoning massive amount of spam. And I know that they're doing work to put some brakes on how many emails that salespeople are sending, and so are the ISPs. But when you start putting AI in charge of email, it's crazy what it does. And so I'll give you an example of this just this past week. So last week, I got an email, it came in, and it had an interesting subject line, so I opened it. And that's an interesting subject line will cause you to open it, a hook. I clicked it open. I read the first two sentences. I realized immediately it was written by a robot. And there are, and everybody who gets email, when it's a robot. I know. And the tell was for me, they scrape the name of my company off of LinkedIn, and there's a tagline next to the name of my company on LinkedIn, and a lot of people don't do that, but I do. So they just pull the entire tagline off, and so I know that it's a robot. But I opened it, realized it was a robot, deleted it, moved on. 30 minutes later, I got 6 more emails from 6 different companies, from 6 different salespeople, all with the same subject line. And what does that tell you? Yeah, it tells you that all of those companies are subscribed to a platform that is sending semi-personalized email that are driven by AI. And it saw me open that email, and the robot doesn't think like a human. The robot just thinks like a robot, right? The robot thinks, if this worked, do more of that. It's just an algorithm. So it just sent me more of that. So sadly for those 6 salespeople, they all got blocked and they got spammed out, and they can no longer reach me ever again, because I'm not doing that. Like if you're so lazy that you're just going to send me AI generated trash and you don't even exist, we got a problem. That's the other thing we've been finding recently on prospecting is this happened to us twice this week, where we got an email that came in that was semi-interesting. So I asked someone on my team to go track it down. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go try to find you on LinkedIn, like who the salesperson is. Let's go look for the salesperson on LinkedIn. And it turned out that the person that was sending the emails didn't even exist. They were a fictional character that were made up by the AI. They were sending us emails, and if we responded, they would put it in someone else's hands. So completely disingenuous that there's no way that we're going to do business with either one of those vendors. So that's the problem that we run into. So we've got a lot more technology that is dialed in, and the technology hasn't. We're not talking about massive changes. In 2015 to 2025, in the 10 years, there's been a shift, but it hasn't been like something that changed the world shift. So all of that's still in place. What hasn't changed, though, is that it's a basic, simple formula, right? The more people you have conversations with, the more you're going to sell. And if we flip that forward just one notch, the more qualified people that you have conversations with, the more you're going to sell. So if nothing else, at least over the last 12 months, the phone has come back in a really big way. In-person prospecting has come back in a really big way. So you can imagine in your space, for example, your sector, where you're doing facility management and janitorial, we have an office building. We have 2 office buildings. We got this one and we have another one about 30 minutes from here. And if someone came into our front door and knocked on it and said, hey, this is what I do for a living. I sell commercial facility services. They would find somewhere there to talk to, and they might have a conversation, or at least they might get connected with the person that they're supposed to have the conversation with. So we're seeing with a lot of our clients that in-person prospecting has come back in a big way. And the thing that we have to work with them on, and this was exactly the same situation in fanatical prospecting, is that we have to work with them on managing their territory so that they don't go single siloed. All they do is go knock on doors, which you can't do a lot of that. It's expensive in terms of time. So we have to teach them how to make calls in the morning, set appointments in the afternoon, and then hub and spoke their in-person prospecting around those calls, or make sure that they're doing something called sector blitzing, where they're going out and they're looking at every street in a territory, and they're knocking down or making names of all the businesses so they can call on those businesses. But if you think fundamentally from a prospecting standpoint, we take fanatical prospecting, and if we just pull a little bit of tech out of it, we're talking about the same concepts that were relevant in 2005. We're talking about the same concepts that were relevant in 1995, and the same concepts that were relative in 1985. And in 1985, we didn't have email, right? In 1995, we didn't have LinkedIn. And, in 2005, we really didn't have video prospecting. That's one thing that's kind of come along since fanatical prospecting came out, is go flash forward to 2025, video prospecting through platforms like Vidyard are really powerful. And I think just to be fair, there's Vidyard and Hippo, I think, are competing animals there. And we love Vidyard. So you've got some different mechanisms. So we have more channels and more ways to get in touch with people. So essentially, when we start looking at fanatical prospecting sequences, which I think is going to be a pretty big book, is how do we pull all of that together in these interwoven campaigns that are targeted, that are intentional and that we're building over time that allow us to improve the probability that we're going to connect with the right prospect at the right time with the right message through the right channel. And it's a complex process. And if we can do anything in that, the platforms that run these are getting better and better and better. I just spent some time with the Sales Loft people, for example, and the work that they're doing around AI is phenomenal, and how they can help salespeople work inside that tool is phenomenal. So when we put that together with, say, the AI Edge, and we start talking about prospecting and messaging, the salespeople that will make a mistake inside of Sales Loft are the ones who say, okay, the AI just built the email message for me. The ones that will win will say, I used the AI to build this message for me to run into this sequence. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to use my human intuition, my human advantage, to take this message that AI built for me and make it human, make it connective, make it really resonate with the person I'm sending it to. And they'll be able to do that way faster since they got the beginning, or they got the start by AI, versus staring at a blank sheet and starting from the very beginning. And that is a regular problem for people. You get a blank sheet of paper, you're trying to write something, it's like you get completely freeze. Yeah. And I find that AI helps me with that. Like I was working on a course description. I'm like, I just went to Claude and said, hey, I'm working on a course description for blah, 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 blah. Here's the title of the course. Give me a couple of ideas. And sure enough, it popped out a couple of ideas. I set them down on a piece of paper. I worked at it, wrote it, honed it, made it better. And I felt like the product that I walked away with was good. And it took me about a third of the time it would have taken me. So we got to link all of that together. And along with the fanatical prospecting sequences, I'm doing another Edge book. So this is sort of kind of be a franchise of books, but I'm doing an Edge book with Bryn Tillman, which will also be out sometime next year, called the LinkedIn Edge, which will take the concepts we're building, and it's an AI plus a LinkedIn pulled together. And all of this is starting to work together in a way that I think it requires salespeople to be smarter. It requires us to be more intuitive. And it requires us to recognize that AI can be a really good friend to us, or it can be a complete enemy, depending on how we leverage it and how we look at it. And that, to me, is where it's getting super exciting. But back to your original question, fanatical prospecting is just as relevant today as it ever was before. There's not a single technique in that book that I would say you could throw out. But there's more that we can talk about. There's more opportunity for salespeople. But my one message to everybody is talk with people. Like, stop this incessant digital keep people at arm's length. Just go have a conversation. There's nothing that's more powerful than that, and people are starving for it.
Yeah. So talking about the AI, because I was guilty of it, and very, 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 very early, I got the ChatGPT. And I would about 3 or 4 times I said, write me an email, blah, blah, blah. It did it. And I just kind of cut and pasted it.
Yep.
I did about 3 or 4 times, and I got no response. And then I read it. And then I handed it to my wife, said, because she's got nothing to do with sales and just, just an actual person's point of view. She says, I can tell it's not you. I was like, okay, I could tell. And so I made that mistake the first time because I was being lazy. Yes. But to your point, it's a great get the idea and then massage it, use it a little bit. And that's basically what you're talking about. So don't rely on it, but use it to speed up the process a bit.
Go faster. Yeah, that's exactly right. So in this new book, there's a chapter in there that starts with the $6 Million Man. Now, a lot of people don't know the $6 Million Man because it was my age group, but in the late 1970s, Lee Majors was like, every kid had a Lee Majors action figure. We all made the noise, we would jump off things and what have you. And if you're listening to this or watching this and you don't know the $6 Million Man, please go to YouTube and type it in. It was a silly show, but it was about this astronaut who had a crash, and they say, we can make him stronger, faster. We can put him back together again. And the whole, the beginning of that show. And I talk about that, AI should enhance us, not be us. You're a better human. It's a better robot. Put those two things together, like the $6 million man, then you can go faster, stronger, smarter. You can accomplish more in less time. And that's the whole point of the book. And, we'll read the title because I'm going to get it wrong, but sales strategies for unleashing AI to save time and sell more, right? It's not unleashing AI to take your place, because AI is not going to do that for you. But that's exactly right. And I use AI constantly. I'm always working on it, but I'm shocked that people don't get it. And in the book, we make a really good point about, I tell a story about a friend of mine who I was on a trip with, and we were sitting next to him, and he got a message on his email and on his phone from his PR company. And we were in Africa. So they're back in California. He gets it, and he's tech executive, and he starts reading it. He's like, that's got to change. This got to change. That's got to change. This got to change. And I'm just sitting next to him. I go, ChatGPT wrote that. And he goes, there's no way. There's no way ChatGPT wrote this. I said, a robot wrote that. I just know the patterns. No. And he was like, no way. I said, ask him. So he sends a message back to his PR company, and they were proud of it. They go, yeah, we used ChatGPT to write this for you. He was pissed. He was so mad because he's spending a ton of money for people who put in the effort. Now think about this. In sales, you're dealing with human beings. If you just AI it in, they know you didn't work for it. They know you didn't care enough to try. They know that. And the same thing happened to him. He fired the PR firm. They were out because they didn't care enough to just get what the robot wrote, then work on it and build something that was specific for his company. And your customers are the same way. Whether there's AI or no AI, if you don't work for it, if you don't try, if you don't put your effort into it, it's like, I'm going to do a proposal. AI is going to do the proposal for you. So you just type up a couple of things and they're going to do it for you. And Canva will do that. Their little magic tool. There's a ton of these guys popping up. Trust me on this. Put it in there, send it to your customer, just like you did, Aiden. Don't read it. Don't make it better. Don't enhance it. Don't put the human advantage into it. And you're not going to get a good reception because people don't like dealing with robots. It feels disingenuous. It feels like they're being manipulated. But they get that we use technology, whether it's AI or anything else, Microsoft Word, to make us better. And that's what you have to do. So a lot of this book is around, okay, here's a prompt, and then here's what you have to do to make this better. And it's not just messaging, but there's a whole section in here on writing and messaging, which I think for salespeople is a game changer. And I make the point in the book, and Anthony didn't do this. I'm the one that said it, but I'm like, I'm just going to come out and pull the Band-Aid off. You can't write. Like, you people suck at writing. Your grammar is horrible. You write poor sentence structure. You don't get good punctuation. And that's because you're really good at having conversations with people and you're not really good at writing. And yeah. Anthony and I, we talk about, like, when we first started writing, you and I were talking about books that you can't find anymore because they were horrible, because I couldn't write. If I go back 17 years ago or 18 years ago when I wrote my first book, I couldn't write. But after writing and writing and writing, I got better and better and better. But even now, because I'm a good writer, it's a lot easier for me to use AI to help me write better. And my point to salespeople is, you can't just say, well, I don't have to write again. You have to understand grammar, and you need to go figure out punctuation, and anything that AI writes for you, you need to go back and read it. Because trust me, the people that you're sending it to will know that you didn't write it. But as AI gets built into tools like, say, a SalesLoft, or as Google Gemini gets built into your email system, or Microsoft is building in Copilot into their Outlook systems, you're going to find more and more and more that AI starts thinking for you, which is cool, and it can make you go faster. But you better, by God, pay attention to it, because it will certainly mess you up. So we have a couple of robot rules. One of the robot rules is never trust, always verify. Because AI will absolutely lie. It will cheat. It will steal. It will make stuff up. And it does that because you gave it a task. I mean, you gave it a prompt. You told it to do it. And it's relentless in solving that problem for you. So you have to always make sure you're checking whatever it gives you. And that means if it gives you a source, I'll ask AI for a statistic, and it'll give me a statistic. I go, give me the source. And then I go to the source and I check the source, and then I check the source's source just to make sure that I'm getting told the truth.
Yeah.
So you have to understand what AI does. And then one of the robot rules is for us is just because AI can do something doesn't mean that it should. Like there's some gratuitous AI out there. So you've got to be super careful with that. And the third robot rule is crap in, crap out. So you tell it, you give it the wrong instructions, you're going to get bad output. So
Yes.
part of what we're doing is getting better at having conversations with AI. And so as we start moving from, a ChatGPT being a standalone separate entity that we're dealing with. And sometimes, for example, I'll have Copilot, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity. I'll have them all up in different tabs, and I'm using all of them at the same time. And there's now apps that will do that for you. You're going to pay for it. Everything's going to be more expensive. Trust me, this stuff is expensive. But as all of that begins getting sucked into the tools that you use every day, your CRM, your email client, whether it's Outlook or Workspaces, which is Google, wherever it is, it's going to be built into those things. You have to be aware of it, and then get good at using it. I say manipulating it, but leveraging it to be an asset for you versus a hindrance, and get good at getting it to enhance you as a human being and make you better than everyone else. And that is a lot of what the book is about, with a lot of practical, here are the things that you need to be doing right now, or here's a prompt that will help you do this or this. For example, and we've got a prompt in there. You're selling janitorial services in a local area. You go close a deal. You like, hey, this is a really cool business. You can go to AI and ask AI to tell you all the businesses that are just like that business, give it to you in a table with their phone numbers and the names of the owners and the websites. And if it can find the email addresses for you. And instantly you've got a prospecting list just like that. Boom. And I'm telling you, it takes 15 seconds to do it.
Wow, I haven't come across that yet. That's definitely
it's in the book, Aiden. That's why.
I'm in Canada. I've had it on pre-order for a number of months now, and it's released on the 11th. So
that's right.
It's going to go right into my inbox, I believe, right into my Kindle. If I'm correct, I think so. I just want to put here. So you and how long did you and Anthony Iannarino, sorry.
Yep.
How long did you guys, like, you always seem to be right on the forefront, right? Like the pandemic was out, you had virtual training out. Like, it's like you got this future, you can see the future. Selling in a crisis, right. So you're right on the forefront of change. When did you guys, because obviously it takes you a long time to write the book and come up with the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long ago did you guys start this, and what was that progression like to work together, and how did you do that?
We started. We're heading to San Antonio for Outbound, but I had my wife with me back in June. We went to San Antonio to do a site visit, and I took her into the San Antonio airport, and I said, stand right there. And she stood there, and I said, that's the place where the AI Edge was born, because that's when my publisher called, John Wiley & Sons, awesome publisher, Anthony's publisher as well, called and said, we want to do a book on AI for sales. We think it's prescient and we should be doing it right now. I think that's the right word. So will you do it? We just want to do it with you. And I said, yeah, but I got to get Anthony involved because he's smart and he's using AI for everything. They said, fantastic, let's do this. So we started writing the book in July, late July, early August of last year, and it took us about a year. We struggled a lot in the early part of it, not because we couldn't write together, but simply because AI was just changing. So he and I got into a really good writing rhythm where he'd lay down copy and I would go behind him, and it just worked really, really well the way we write. So that was really the trigger. I mean, we've been thinking about it, but the trigger was when your publisher calls and says, hey, we want you to do this book. So I put Fanatical Prospecting Sequences on the back burner, which I've done twice now, because I put it on the back burner to write Selling in a Crisis, and put it in the back burner to write the AI Edge. And, but That's where it came from. And we finished the book in April of last year, and then it had to go through all the editorial process, and it takes a while for books to be published. I wish we could move a little faster because we could have had the book out in June if we, but we have to wait to get printed and all the other things that publishers do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. I'm looking forward to just one or two things left on talking about AI, and I'm going to talk about outbound as we close. But in the book, on one of the on the cover, you say it's about fusing human intuition, creativity, and empathy with AI to gain a competitive advantage. Can you expand on that a little bit? When you say fusing, what does that look like?
It really looks like, for example, let me give you an example of a prompt that'll fuse this. So I'm going to go on a sales call, and I'm calling on, let's just say I'm calling on a HVAC company, and they are a family-owned company. They've been around for 40 years, and I'm calling on the second generation owner, the son of the founder. And they've got 30 techs, so I know how big they are. And I'm going to go in and have my very first time appointment with them. So, like, what am I going to ask? How am I going to get them talking? So a lot of salespeople, when we go into these first time appointments, what we really do is we go in and we just start pitching what we sell. And they allow us to do that. They go, hey, you're here. Tell me what you got. And we go, well, I'll do this and this and this and this and this and this. But that's not really having a great conversation. And so you go back to my book, Sales EQ, or in virtual selling, and I talk a lot about how are you engaging people in a conversation that causes them to lean in, causes them to like you. We know that when we listen to people, we become more likable, and they all tell us their story, and it creates a feeling of contentment and a feeling of I don't know, of probably peace. I mean, when you're listening to someone, they get a dopamine hit to the brain, and it makes them feel really good.
Yeah.
So you're a salesperson. What are you going to ask? So if you lean in with your empathy and your intuition, you realize that if I go in and I just start talking about what I do, even if they open the door to do that, they're probably going to like me very much. Even if they said, tell me what you got, and you spend 30 minutes telling me what you got, a lot of those meetings will just end in, okay, well, send me some prices and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
So if you use your empathy and intuition, you realize that's not the right way of doing it, but you need some questions to ask. So you go to ChatGPT and you say, hey, ChatGPT, I am going to call on an HVAC company. It's run by a second generation owner, and they're this big, and I'm on my first time appointment, and I need to get some questions that will help me open up the conversation in a way that would cause them to want to keep talking with me. Again, I have 5 questions. And it'll spit out 5 questions. You may need to prompt it in some different ways and ask around that, but your empathy and your intuition is guiding the prompt. And then as you get the questions in, as you read the questions, you go, oh, that's a really good question. That's not really a good question. This is too self-serving. This feels really good. And then if you take those questions and put your human advantage to it, you can rewrite those questions or reformulate those questions in a way that makes them conversational. And when you sit down with your customer, you say, Aiden, if it would be okay with you, before we get started, I'd love to ask a few questions so I could get to know you and your business a little bit better. Then we can talk a little bit about what I do. And then from there, you and I can make a decision if it makes sense to go to the next step. And then I ask you a question. Well, ChatGPT helped me get to those questions way faster. So when I'm doing my pre-call planning, I'm back to being able to look at it from their standpoint. The other thing that you can do is if you went to that same bot and you went in and we've got the prompt for this and we show you some examples and tables, like if you ask it about this particular company and how it would interact with a small business, it'll give you a table. So you could actually go in and run it against your company. So if you act like you're that person and you're doing research on your company, find out where there might be objections or questions so that you can start to get ahead of that in your conversation and neutralize those feelings or those potential emotional roadblocks or red flags that might hold them back. And that's the way that you fuse this all together. Like you're using it to do the things that you could do if you took the time to do it, but way faster.
Yeah.
And it gets you started. So that to me is how you make this work. And I think that's for until I don't know, AI runs wild and takes us all out. This is how we have to use it to enhance ourselves. Otherwise, all you are is just a walking zombie. And I mean, if the robot's just doing your job, then trust me on this, they're not going to use you anymore. I mean, you're not going to be working there anymore. I mean, you may be working someplace else. So you as a salesperson, where you win is you. Where you win is the human connection. Where you win is the relationship. And if the AI can give you more time to build those relationships and help you interact with people better because it can give you ideas, that's where you win. That's the fusion.
I love that, and you just throw in some great ideas. You even got me thinking here. Which leads me to kind of the last question, or in regards to the to AI and stuff. I sent an email to some customers of mine, and I said I was interviewing you, and most of them know who you are. Talk about AI. I said, what question would you like me to ask? And it was a common. They all said it differently, but it was common. And the common kind of question, the way they worded it differently was, how long, is it going to replace me?
Yes.
So my question to you is, if we just look at, let's just say for top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, of those three aspects, is AI going to replace a salesperson anytime soon in any of those three? Because that's kind of where people are kind of worried about.
Yeah, no, it's not going to replace you top, middle, or bottom. The replacing salespeople with robots has already failed. Email prospecting is dead. The return that people are getting on email prospecting right now. I mean, we have people calling us going, "It's just not working anymore. What do we do?" Yeah. Because it's just turned off. Because AI can send email 24 hours a day relentlessly. Well, after a while, if you're an executive and your email is full of crap emails from robots, the one person that's actually doing it by hand and doing it right just gets tossed out with everybody else. So no, it's not going to replace you in any of those places. Let me tell you where AI has the potential to replace salespeople. If the thing that you sell is super easy to buy without any risk, like you sell something and I don't need to know anything else about it other than I want it, AI will replace you. You don't need a salesperson for that. But here's the thing. We've been doing that for a long time. I mean, there used to be a time when all office supplies were sold by salespeople. They would come to your office and sell you office supplies. And now people go buy office supplies on Amazon. Why? Because they trust it. They know it's going to show up. They've already experienced it, and they don't really need anybody in between. Like they don't need any friction in between them and making the purchase. And there's tons of products that have happened where that's the case. But let's just say that you sell facility services. Well, every facility is unique. And by the way, I'm letting people into my facility. So this is it's an emotional and it's complex. And I need to make sure I got people I can trust and that people are going to show up. They're going to do the job. And somebody's got to walk through the facility and take a look at it because everything's going to have a little bit of a different configuration. So how is AI going to do that? It's not. And so if your company, your marketing team is really good at getting inbound leads, as a person comes in, AI might take the lead and then send a quick follow-up for the lead and even book an appointment with the person. But that's marketing, and marketing has had that automation for a really, really long time. So we're not talking about anything that AI is doing. Now, AI is displacing some marketing jobs, like creative jobs, because AI can do it faster and better than a human. So where you had, say, 5 people working on a project, you might have one person working on the project and a robot. I mean, so but first, from sales standpoint, complex selling, anything that involves risk and people have to make decisions, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. But we will continue to see sales jobs in particular industries go away naturally because we get to a point where we just don't need to see a salesperson. Yeah. There's an argument for that in automobiles. You've got automobiles that are good enough. For me, the greatest inconvenience for me is that I have to go deal with a human being to go buy a car. I know what I want. I just want to push the button and I just order it online and you just bring it to me. And yeah. So we're going to see that change continue to happen. There are people like a Victor Antonio, which I'll give him due credit. He says that it's going to happen way faster than most of us think. He might be right. I think that if you're in customer service, and that's where he really comes into play, and people are calling into your call center, that you might be dealing with robots. But I can tell you that last week, I don't know, I think it was a Thursday morning, I was up really early, and I was using a platform that we use in our business for e-learning, and it's a pretty big spin for us. And I'm dealing with a robot trying to solve a problem, and it was the most frustrating, horrible moment. And I could not get a human being. All I had was the bot, and I was ready to toss my computer through the wall. Yeah. And the next day, I'm like, I'm going to figure out how I can find another vendor that I can work with, because I can't deal with a vendor that can't answer the questions. But the robot doesn't know how to be empathetic, and it certainly didn't know how to be intuitive enough to understand what I was trying to get at. It just gave me stupid answers.
Yeah. It's interesting where things are going to go. But at the end of the day, every problem that's solved creates another problem. So
yes,
so we're going to, the order takers, maybe there's going to be some things that happen to them and stuff like that. But those that actually, like you said, are strategic and think about the questions and are going to help the customer expand their business and stuff like that. I don't see anytime soon a robot doing that.
Yeah. And look, if you're a salesperson, your entire prospecting motion is to send emails all day long, you will get replaced, because a robot can do it way better than you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's interesting because you're right, because email is really low now, like really low, and half the time Google's moving it into promotions or whatever. If you're on your phone, you don't even see it.
Yes.
So yeah.
So right.
In regards to sales AI, the Edge, you are. It's in Canada. It's out in a few days. It's out now. You can get it on. You can get it by scanning this code, take it right to Amazon. It's on Kindle. It's on hard copy. Question for you: Is it going to be on Audible anytime soon? Because I find myself, like, you're talking to me, and I'm like, shit. I should probably get the book on hardcover when it comes, because I know I've got it on Kindle. It's going to drop into Kindle. But I'm thinking I should probably get it on, and then I definitely will get it on Audible, because sometimes I'm on a walk and I want to listen to it. So
yeah,
most
we are working on trying to get in the we're working on getting into the studio. This is going to be a really hard book to produce in audio, and the only people that can do it are the authors, because we've got so many prompts and so many exercises and so many examples. So the book is full of exercises, like things for you to do. So we're going to have to work through how do we present this book in an audio format that makes it something that is pleasant to listen to, that you learn from and that you gain from. So my recommendation for almost everybody is you want to get it in print, because there's so many prompts, and there's instantly I can go do this in my AI client and I can get this output. Like that's what you're getting from from the book. So all of that's there. So you want to have that there. And then, like you said, I do the same thing. I buy books and I get them in both. Actually, if I like a book, I get Kindle hardcover and I'll get Audible. But it will be. But I would suspect that the Audible version probably won't be out until into December, early January.
Okay. Yeah, and I know I remember talking to Anthony before on another, and he says, it's a little tedious doing the recordings and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not he didn't have the most fun time doing that. So
no, it's awful. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. So speaking of AI and the Edge, I mean, I'm going to be joining you and Anthony and Bryn and Amy and Mark this November the 5th to the 8th at the Outbound Conference in San Antonio. You didn't have it last year. I was there 2 years ago in Atlanta. It was absolutely fantastic. Speaking of which, I forgot the power of speaking. In your last speech there, when you were talking about the facility audit, you're a master, because you had me. I was like just hooked, and I realized, oh geez, I forgot what it's like to have a speaker speak, and that's just the honest truth. I was like, geez, you had me, your storytelling and that, and the button and and all that. It was fantastic. So kudos to you. But um, uh, what can everyone expect? I mean, I highly encourage you going there. There's nothing like actually talking to people and interacting and having a coffee, during coffee for closers in the morning and stuff like that. But I got the schedule here, but it's kind of a 3-day event. Let me just elaborate a little bit on what people can expect.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One is that it's going to be more intimate this year than it was when you were in Atlanta. The Atlanta conference was big. We had 2,000 people online. We had camera people everywhere because we were live streaming constantly. We ran a lot of sessions. So, the speaking was run, so there wasn't much time for networking. And we just realized that we weren't having as much fun as the people who were putting it on and speaking as we were in 2017, 18, and 19, where it was a smaller conference that was much more intimate. And we were making friends like you, like we were meeting people and they were like becoming part of our lives, because at this conference, you kind of get together and you connect. So we made the decision to dial it back. So there's going to be 500 people there versus 1,200 people. And it's going to be less keynote-y, right? So like what you saw in Atlanta was a keynote speaker, and much more training focused, where you're going to have speakers on the main stage that are going to be talking and telling stories and doing those things. But we're going to be working together on getting better at the craft, from prospecting sequences all through how do you leverage LinkedIn, inside the actual sales process and connecting with other people, dealing with objections and working through your time. So it's really going to be a training conference. And what I would say to you is the ticket for the main stage 2 days, there's no more VIP tickets available, but the main stage, 2 days there, it's $997. You can't buy the training. Like, you can't get this training from this group of experts anywhere even close to that. And if you're a small company, to bring any of those people into your company, you're talking about a minimum of $25,000 a day just to get them to come in. So you can take 2 or 3 salespeople with you, spend a little bit of money, and you're going to get this, like I'm talking about really good training from the stage. On Friday, we've got some what we call elite sessions, and we've got an executive sales leadership session. So if you're a leader, you want to jump on that. There's, I think, only 6 tickets available still for that. And then we're going to have the AI Edge session. And the AI Edge session is going to be focused on not just this book, but on how to use AI, super practical. And Bryn Tillman, Victor Antonio, who is also an expert in AI, Bryn's a super expert on AI, and I will be teaching that. And you're going to be hands-on learning how to manipulate AI to get the things that you want out of it. And then we've got an additional session on, if you're interested in selling into Latin America, what do you need to do a better job there? And then we got a golf scramble, and there's 3. You're going to be playing. I'm playing. There's 3 slots left in the golf scramble. So if you're interested, you want to jump on that. And it's going to be a lot more. When I said intimate, there's going to be a lot more networking. So we're going to have. We're not going to start till 9 o'clock in the morning. So like the coffees for closers is going to come in at 7 o'clock, and people love that. Like, when you were there, like we were having to get people out of the lobby and get them into the sessions, because we could see it. Like, people really loved spending time with each other. There's a VIP lounge, so you'll be able to spend time with the VIPs, and then a little bit longer lunch. And then we're going to be out at 5 on day 1, which is the main stage day. And then we'll be out at 4 o'clock on the 7th to give people time to get home or to network. And I suggest coming in and stay for the weekend, or come in early, because this is a killer resort. This JW Marriott's one of the greatest resorts in Texas. It's got incredible water parks if you've got a family, and it's got great restaurants, and it's got a top top flight golf lounge and bar and sports bar, and 2 TPC courses that are phenomenal where we'll be playing golf. So for me, it's a conference and a little bit of a vacation. So you get to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, I went on the other day. Actually, my wife was beside me, and I went on it. and she looked at the website and she was like, "Oh, I want to come." I said,
No.
"What are you going to do?" She goes, "Oh, whatever.
I'm gonna be
you
at
do
the
your
pool.
thing. You do your
That's
thing."
right.
She says. I said, "Okay." So yeah, no, looking forward to it. I really appreciate your time. I want to encourage everyone. You can to get the AI the Edge. I'm looking real forward to getting it. I've been following it. I'm involved in it, and you've already given me some ideas. Just a quick little thing here that I didn't even think of, such as asking the questions and then using that as your baseline. Fantastic. As far as outbound goes, I'm not just saying this. I really, really recommend going. I went 2 years ago. There is the code. You scan that. It's going to take you right to the page. I know there's no VIP, but there still is the regular session is $9.97. And like you said, having just one of the speakers come into your own company would be 10, 15, 20 times that. So, Jeb, I really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to the book. I'm looking forward to Outbound. And I really appreciate what you and Anthony, what you guys do for the sales world, because what I think you do a lot of things. What I think you do is I think you give salespeople hope. There's lots of different mixed messages out there, and people worried about their jobs going, and the phone is dead, and this is dead, and you guys all like as you say, that's a bunch of BS. But stay focused, do this, and you're good at helping people stay focused on keeping the main thing, which is important.
Cool.
So.
That's a very nice way of looking at it. I love that. We give people hope. Sales is alive and well, folks. We are rocking and rolling.
Right? Absolutely. So just going to show one little thing here, and we'll close off. Go here.
I'm a big fan of the Summer Olympics, and probably one of the best phrases from this year's Olympics was from sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson, who said, "I'm not simply back, I'm better." Outbound 2024 is not simply back. We are better than ever before. This is the learning experience you want to make sure that you are a part of for all things pipeline, prospecting, productivity. Please join me and all of the other excellent sales minds at the learning experience that you don't want to miss. Make 2024 your best yet and be even better in 2025. I'll look forward to seeing you there.
Man, she's good.
And you will see me there. So, Jeb, thank you very much. Much appreciated to you. Looking forward to seeing you and Amy and Anthony and Mark and Victor. And I really appreciate your time. And thanks again, eh?
Thanks, sir. Have a good one.